Review copy provided by PlayStation.
Gross. Yeah, this'll do.
In 2013, Naughty Dog released The Last of Us to universal acclaim. Since then, its legacy has continued to bloom with considerable praise for the powerful bond between Joel and Ellie. Creating a sequel to such a beloved game is a risky proposition, and potentially compromises the original's legacy. But Naughty Dog has crafted an utterly essential tale about love and hate. 5 years have passed since Joel's fateful decision at St. Mary's Hospital. Now living in Jackson, Wyoming, he and Ellie have settled down as members of a thriving community. The cordyceps fungus that ravaged the world decades earlier, along with occasional rogue factions, are still a continued threat, but Jackson is relatively peaceful. Until one day it isn't. The Last of Us Part 2 will almost certainly make you uncomfortable, as the affecting narrative is challenging in multiple ways. The diverse cast of characters that weaves in and out of the storyline is fully realized, with their own hopes and fears that motivate their actions in authentic and sometimes brutal ways, asking players to ponder their own beliefs and loyalties. The journey sees Ellie traverse through Jackson and Seattle, both of which are breathtaking. Vast landscapes engulf your senses as you ride, jog, climb, and crawl through overgrown structures that never feel artificially placed. Ellie is more nimble than Joel, allowing her to jump small gaps and use makeshift ropes to reach areas above and below, adding a greater sense of realism to the surroundings. The large open spaces are balanced with countless interiors that manage to feel unique from one another thanks to an unbelievable amount of understated details. Abandoned homes, shops, and businesses tell stories of the past and present through subtle clues left amidst the forlorn decor. Scattered throughout each area are valuable resources like ammunition and crafting components. Additionally, scrap can be used to upgrade each weapon, while skill books and supplements are needed to upgrade skill trees that enhance abilities like maximum health and crawl speed. The placement of items can still lead to awkwardly tracing the perimeter of each new area, but after a while, it becomes easier to discern between areas in the wild that naturally wouldn't have supplies lying around. Superhero cards can be found hidden throughout the expansive locations and offer a nice distraction amidst all the sadness and brutality. Each card gives a power level and brief biography of the characters, fleshing out an entire roster of heroes and villains, begging the question if Naughty Dog has future plans for them. Meanwhile, optional areas sometimes harbor safes that can be cracked by piecing together information from the environment or documents, and the contents inside are as rewarding as the stories that surround their placement. The world is a dangerous place, rife with hostile factions and swaths of infected, so remaining hidden is always the most efficient way to progress. Grass and foliage can be used to stay concealed, while bottles and bricks can be thrown to distract patrols. Ellie's switchblade is capable of quietly dispatching unsuspecting foes that wander too close, while makeshift silencers and arrows can pick off stragglers from a distance. The switchblade is much more potent than Joel's breakable shivs, which means you can take out as many clickers as you can get your hands on. Quietly bringing an enemy down when their companions are close by is extremely tense and makes each successful kill feel earned. Listen mode returns even on survivor difficulty and remains an absurdly powerful tool, allowing you to visualize sounds and smells in a way that amounts to X-ray vision. Currently, it can't be turned off, but it can be ignored at your own discretion. When stealth is no longer an option, Ellie has a deadly arsenal at her disposal. Returning firearms like the bolt-action rifle and shotgun obliterate enemies on the receiving end, while new crafting opportunities like explosive arrows and trap bombs can take out larger threats. If you hunker down when facing multiple opponents, they attempt to flank your position, encouraging mobility during hectic firefights. It's thrilling to pull off clean kills and fall back through foliage and crevices, only to re-emerge behind a distraught foe. The small details bring each combat encounter to life, like shattered glass that embeds in an enemy's skin, or explosions that sever limbs. Additionally, the scenarios vary considerably, with different combinations of enemies and environmental protection, like elevated vantage points or submerged access routes, forcing you to consider different tactics depending on the situation. Melee encounters play a critical role in combat. Ellie's switchblade can be used in direct confrontations, slashing at enemies, and she can nimbly dodge their swings with careful timing. More powerful options like baseball bats and crowbars break after extended use, but can be further enhanced through crafting to become stronger and more durable. The world has changed in the last 5 years, and with those changes comes a deadly new type of infected. Shamblers are hulking beasts capable of throwing and detonating toxic gas that deals damage and obstructs visibility. Facing them alone can be tough, but when combined with other infected, the terror is considerably heightened. Foes can suddenly emerge through the noxious haze, keeping you off balance and contributing a layer of unpredictability to the proceedings. The infected aren't the only ones with new tricks. Human factions now employ guard dogs that relentlessly track you, forcing you to keep moving or create a distraction to get them off the scent. They add a substantial sense of urgency to some encounters, and dog lovers that don't want to harm the canines will have a much harder time bypassing them. The Last of Us Part 2 can be very disturbing. Enemies feel lifelike as you stab them in the throat and watch the light slowly drain from their eyes. Blood seeps from wounds as bodies lay limp on the ground, staring back at you. The people you fight often call each other by name, adding weight and meaning to each life you take. Like the original, companions accompany you periodically on the journey. During combat, they occasionally help out by dispatching enemies, but problems similar to the original game are still present. While partner movements aren't as awkward as before, they still feel artificial as they bounce around in an effort to follow your lead. When not engaged in combat, however, they offer touching moments, levity, and insight into the world. Countless conversations range from mundane to deeply personal and further contribute to the incredible storytelling. At launch, there are 5 set difficulties from very light to survivor. Additionally, custom difficulty options allow you to fine-tune specific parameters individually, like the aggressiveness of enemies or how much damage you can absorb. Despite these extra options, Survivor feels fairly tame. Mid-encounter checkpoints are relatively forgiving, diminishing the fear of death. Combat is at its best when you're forced to improvise with limited supplies, but resources are still plentiful for thorough scavengers. Meanwhile, the number of accessibility options deserves considerable praise. Settings for motion sickness, color blindness, and more can be tweaked to find the most comfortable experience. Last of Us Part 2 is easily one of the best-looking PlayStation 4 games. Transitions between cutscenes and gameplay are practically unnoticeable, with lifelike faces and animations that raise the bar for interactive storytelling. It does come at a slight cost, however, as it's capped at 30 frames per second, dipping slightly below that in very rare instances. Music plays a central role, not only enhancing the mood, but also humanizing the world and characters. If you manage to find a guitar lying around, Ellie can practice for a bit, offering a nice distraction from the unforgiving elements. Upon completion, New Game Plus is available to play with all your previous upgrades. Concept art and character models can be unlocked with points earned by finding collectibles, earning trophies, and completing the game on higher difficulties, ensuring multiple playthroughs are still rewarding.
How do I get up there? Shit. There's too many of these assholes.
The Last of Us Part 2 presents an absolutely crucial and challenging narrative about love and hate. Characters have convincing motivations that leave you thinking about more than what's in front of you. The places it takes you to are awe-inspiring to explore, with unrivaled attention to detail, and although the combat is somewhat forgiving, it remains thrilling throughout much of the harrowing journey. The Last of Us Part 2 leaves a deep, emotional impact, and this unforgettable continuation should not be missed.
Shit.
Easy Allies reviews are made possible by generous viewers just like you. If you like what you see, check out patreon.com/easyallies to help us make more. For just $1 a month, you can gain access to weekly updates, spoiler discussions, and exclusive shows.
Fuck these WLF.
Review copy provided by PlayStation.